Today's reading is found in Mark chapter 14, verse 32 to verse 40. Let me read. Then they went to a place called Gethsemane, and Jesus said to his disciples, "Sit here while I pray." He took Peter, James, and John with him and became very troubled and distressed. He said to them, "My soul is deeply grieved even to the point of death. Remain here and stay alert." Going a little further, he threw himself to the ground and prayed that if it were possible, the hour would pass from him. He said, "Abba, Father, all things are possible for you. Take this cup away from me. Yet not what I will, but what you will." Then he came and he found them sleeping, and he said, "Peter, Simon, are you sleeping? Couldn't you stay awake for another hour? Stay awake and pray that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak." He went away again and prayed the same thing. When he came again, he found them sleeping. They could not keep their eyes open, and they did not know what to tell him. This is the first of 14 scriptural stations of the cross that we're going to explore during the rest of our devotional series. And it's an adaptation of the traditional Catholic stations of the cross. Really, it's rooted in the Gospels, and so understand that that's where it's coming from. Now, it's designed to move us alongside Jesus through the passion path that he walked towards the cross. You see, it's in the Garden of Gethsemane that we actually get the snapshot at the fullness of Christ's humanity alongside the fullness of his deity. The fullness of Christ's humanity is actually on display when he begs the Father to remove the responsibility that comes with being the Savior of the world. He said, "Father, take this cup from me," because he knew the responsibility that it was. His humanity there was reacting to what he knew he was going to suffer physically. Jesus asked the Father to take the cup from him and spare him and relieve him of the weight of the sins of the world on his shoulders, because he knew what he would have to suffer spiritually. And we get that. We can relate to this Jesus. We can understand the humanity of this Jesus. This makes sense to us. Have you ever had an immense weight and you've just asked God, "Please remove this from me. I cannot handle it"? Jesus is feeling the same thing, but what we get to quickly see here is Jesus' full deity on display. When in light of the weight that he was feeling and in light of the request to remove it, Jesus says, even though knowing how much he'll suffer as a savior of the world, he finishes his prayer saying, "Yet not what I will, but your will be done." Jesus is modeling for us perfect sacrificial surrender. And the beginning of the Stations of Cross starts with Jesus and his humanity feeling the weight of it, but also his perfect sacrificial surrender by saying, regardless of how I'm feeling, not what I will, but what you will, Father. Maybe the question that you need to ask yourself today as you're processing this devotion is what burdens are you asked to bear for the sake of the gospel? What weight or responsibility has God been asking you, or you think he might actually ask you if you were listening? What responsibility or weight would you be carrying if you were fully obedient to the mission and the will of God? What would that look like to fully trust God, and how heavy would that burden be? And maybe you need to ask the question, what does it look like, not just for me to feel that and know that and see that and experience that, but what would it look like if I could actually follow in Jesus' footsteps and live out sacrificial surrender, not what I will, but what you will? What would it take for you and for me to truly follow Jesus' path of radical surrender to the will of God? And then maybe the follow-up to that is, what are you waiting for? What are we waiting for to actually practice full surrender, the way that Jesus practiced full surrender? Pray today. And if you pray today, I invite you to pray that God shows you the path forward in surrender, and that God gives you strength and confidence today to truly surrender in the ways that He is calling you to.